Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to Blade Bias. You have to give me a pass. My desk is a mess. That is my next project. I have laid out a package over here on my couch from the ever wonderful Shattered Concept. Now, these were sent over for purpose of making some videos on, but they are not mine to keep. They will be getting shipped back out as soon as I am done with my time with them. Thank you again to Shattered for sending these over. In the package, we got a few stickers. I believe both artworks done by Arapo, one of my favorite Balisong related artists. Got a little business card here with his logo kind of like imprinted on it somehow. That's actually kind of cool. But just with like the YouTube, Reddit, Instagram, stuff like that. And a pretty cool pin. I actually really like that. That's really cool to throw that in there. I have to be honest with you, I don't know if this is what comes in the package with a Shattered if you actually buy one. But let's take a look at the note, because I love when makers do this. They just make it very easy to go through. We have the spec sheet. Handles are 5.7 inches. Trainer blade is 5.3. That's actually a fairly long style Balisong. It's an 11-inch total. I think that's about what Machine Wise's old designs used to be. 7075 machine finished anodized dual tone appearance aluminum. 440C stainless steel blade, channel handles with bushings, 3.7 ounces with a light handle bias. Handle surface texture, speed cutouts, polished holes, dual tone appearance, jimping, bite side indicator, and with a 3D printed custom case. 2 stickers with different art. Oh, this is what comes in the packaging. Perfect. You get the case. You get 2 stickers from Arapo, as well as the enamel pin, and the spring locks secure it in place. I'm sure we'll see that when we open it. You also get 2 bushings, not tuned, and 4 washers. So if you don't know Shattered's story, if you'll allow me to yap while we do this unboxing, you'll actually see here there's a fairly interesting locking mechanism. There's a very flexible, almost fabric-y, but it is still 3D printed, kind of latch that comes down, and then you spin this little square and the whole thing slides open to reveal the Shattered. So Shattered has been at this for a long time. I remember following him when I was early days in the community, because he had kind of come up with this very different, oh look, it's even signed in there, that's cool, this very different to what we have now design that had become super popular, and he was trying to find a way to get it made. There were a whole bunch of setbacks and developments in that cycle, which eventually led to him releasing products that we've checked out on this channel in the past. The Rift, the Ruined, things like that. But that finally culminates, at long last, for both me and anyone else who's been following this design, with the Shattered actually appearing in people's hands. And speaking of appearing, we have a 4-legged guest down here, which I'm not going to flip over, because don't flip over your animals. And now they're going to go bark at something upstairs. So it's very cool to see these in person. I'm actually really, really excited to check them out. I got to try these at Blade Show, and I was impressed, but I didn't really have enough time to actually get any thoughts together. So we'll be doing a first impressions and then a longer follow-up review, as is the standard on this channel. But thank you again to Shattered for sending this thing over. This thing is beautiful. This color, almost reminiscent, in fact, probably very reminiscent of the Hydra color from Nibali's. At least the one that I had was kind of a bluish green like this. But it's not a color that you really ever see anywhere else. You can see that bite indicator right there, and you see the blade, which I believe the Shattered was kind of known for in its early days. Which is now, I can't remember if this was on the original design or not. I don't think it was. I don't remember. But we've got a Shattered texture in there now. Overall, it looks, sounds, and feels pretty good. I was never like a rabid fan of how the Shattered looked. Just the kind of holes in the blade always never really did it for me. But having it in person, it looks better. And whoa, my camera just got jolted by something. I'm not sure what that was. I've never really been a huge fan. When it was more in the design process, as he's kind of revised it, I've liked it more and more, but now seeing it in person, I do really like it. Let's get to the part that everyone came here for and that everyone will comment, you take too long to get to this part. Let's flip it. This is the trainer variant, and starting off with a drop, as is customary for this channel. Ooh, woo. Okay, this is very... So I said earlier, kind of has like a machine-wise level length, and that is almost dead on the money. Those two, it's even a little bit longer than my Fall Slide Blade Prisma Pro here. But, oh man, that flips nice. That is very like old machine-wise reminiscent. And I know I'm going to beat it into the ground. I'm sorry, machine-wise. But I just do prefer the way their longer designs flipped. I love their newer designs. Specifically, the Live Blade Totori I think is fantastic. But those older, longer designs just flipped in a way that other Balisongs have never really replicated up until now. And this is actually replicating it. Not replicating it, mind you, but giving me that feeling very, very well. We've got very responsive fans and choker fans, like really responsive because of both the tip weight and the length. Really well balanced ends of the handles compared to the tip of the blade. This is a fairly substantial amount of steel right here relative to the rest of the blade. So it does a really good job in carrying the end of the blade through most of those fan-related tricks. And rollovers, usually when something fans well, it might not roll over as well. Rollovers still feel sticky because of these longer masses of weight that are further away from the pivots. It means that everything just kind of rotates and carries a lot of momentum, which is really good for your chaplains, your rollovers, and things like that. I have very little complaints with the balance of this thing for first impressions. Again, this will change. We will do a follow-up video where I am so sorry, Shattered. We will do a follow-up video where, you know, I flip it for a few weeks and then probably find something that annoys me about it. That's usually how it goes. But we'll see. I mean, I really like how that fan and choker fans, but all the other tricks... Ooh, I messed that up right there. All the other tricks are responsive. It carries enough momentum. The balance isn't even overly handle biased, I would call it. I would say it has a slight handle bias, but it's almost bordering on neutral for me, just because of the way that the handles are carrying themselves. And you wouldn't expect it given there's no pivots down here, and this is a very insignificant amount of aluminum down here. You'll see that a lot of designs that go with aluminum channel handles will have a lot more mass down here. Specifically, the wing is one that comes to mind. The channel kind of tapers off very, very early on the wing. And that is to maintain a lot of momentum because you won't have a ton without that. And that's why a lot of aluminum makers will opt for the standard screw and pivot that you see at the bottom of the handles. It's kind of just a free and more space compact way to get that momentum out of those handles. So seeing them not here, I was a little bit worried, but I'm finding that it carries itself quite nicely, which also could be due to its lightweight, 3.7 ounces. It's a light Balisong, but I feel like most Balisongs that come out lately are light. Enough talking about the trainer, because we have here the Live Blade. Is this actually a Live Blade? This is actually a Live Blade. Okay. Love the design here. I do find that the more circular nature of it conflicts a little bit with what you're going for with the geometry, but however, you have these circles in the handles to kind of balance that out. So I find that it actually works quite well. I think I like the look of the Live Blade a bit more than the trainer. Will I like the flipping a bit more than the trainer? It's almost a very Hydro reminiscent blade actually from Squid Industries. That is incredibly similar. Usually it's very difficult for a Balisong maker to maintain the kind of weight distribution that you get from a Live Blade on a trainer. because what people don't think about is that live blades taper off. So the steel that is here is much thinner than the steel that's here. So you're dealing with more thinner steel, more thinner. You're dealing with more and also thinner steel across the surface area of the blade versus that where you have less surface area but more, like you have more thickness, so it contributes more weight. So the balance is usually always off. The weight distribution is usually always off between a live blade and a trainer, and that's kind of why false live blades have really taken off in the past few years, because you're able to get that kind of similar balance profile without the sharpness. And contrary to a lot of edgelords on Reddit, contrary to the beliefs of a lot of edgelords on Reddit, not everyone flips because they want the danger of potentially being cut. That's just not a reason a lot of people flip. It's not why I flip. I flip for the more fidgety artistic expression aspect of flipping rather than the actual danger. And I am not delusional enough to make me think, or I'm not delusional enough to think that flipping a live blade makes me cool in any way, as some of these people often think. I'm noticing a little bit of a difference in the weight, specifically on chaplains. It's just a little tiny bit less sticky. Rollover is kind of as well, but it's not big enough to the point where I'm actually like feeling it a ton like it happens on some other designs. Everything that I said about the trainer still applies here. 0Gs are specifically where I'm noticing it not sticking to my finger as well. But with a just tiny bit of adjustment and flipping, it works. I think this whole design works really, really well. Wow. I am going to go back to the trainer since they are very, very similar. But all right, well, that's fun. Turns out my locking mechanism on my head mount broke, I assume, while it was sitting in my bag when I put it in there recently, and my camera fell out of my head mount. So I'm now going to have to figure out how to record these videos. I think I have a temporary solution for now, but I'm going to try not to look down too much. So let's finish out this video. I was so shocked at what just happened that I have no idea where I was. So I've made it this far without talking about much else, anything else than the flipping. And that's kind of because I'm having a little bit of trouble with the overall comfort of this thing. I'm finding a lot. It just adjusted again. Oh no. Oh no, don't fall out, please. I'm finding the comfort on the handles to be a little bit lacking. The machining, specifically on some of these face cutouts here and this little indentation right here, finding to be a little bit sharp, especially when I'm kind of choker fanning or doing anything where the faces of the handles are rubbing against my hands a lot. So not the greatest there. I'm also realizing I don't know the price of this thing off the top of my head. If I find out, maybe I will put it up. Ow, I just spiked it into my foot. Put it up somewhere on the bottom of the screen here. So I'll also tell you if I think that's a good or a bad price. Actually, it's probably a fine price, but yeah, I think my biggest complaint with this thing so far is the comfort. The machining doesn't feel as smooth as I would like. I do understand these are not being machined by Shattered, so I know that there's little control that you have and things like that, but I think if you're looking for upgrades in the long term, that would be where I would look to start, because I'm just, like I said, just getting a little bit of like grabbiness from some of the face cutouts. And kind of specifically, oh, there it is. This is a okay. This is a really sharp corner right here. I'm feeling my finger grab on that a lot when it's rolling over. It doesn't feel the best. Again, not a huge deal. It's not like it's game breaking for me. I still actually really enjoy this thing first impressions. But I think my biggest complaint is definitely the comfort there on that one. And the jimping I'm finding to not be doing almost anything for me. Even when you run your fingers along it like this, It's just not as substantial as I prefer my jimping. I do like my jimping to be a little more grabby because I do struggle with ladders a bit when it's not. It's not impossible to ladder it, especially if you're better at ladders than I am. But future video, upcoming, it's not the jimping is not a standout like some recent Balisongs that I have tried. Overall, though, this, depending on what the price is, this is something we'll get into price and kind of what I think about it for the price in the follow-up video. This is a favorite of mine that I've flipped lately, bringing back that old Machine-Wise feel. Stay tuned for the follow-up video because I am sure something about my thoughts will change. Whether they get better, whether they get worse, maybe they'll stay the same. Sometimes they do. I want to give a huge shout out to Shattered for sending this thing over so I could check it out. I've had a lot of requests to check this thing out because there's been a lot of hype. This design is literally years in the making, so to see it finally in hand is very, very cool. But yeah, thank you again to Shattered for sending this thing out. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you all, hopefully with a fixed head mount, in the next video. Later.